Luckily, things are looking up a little bit for the Nintendo Switch physical game situation. Last week, I think I made a video talking about the current information we had back then. And by that point, a Nintendo support employee released a statement that the Nintendo Switch 2 edition physical releases will be a Switch 1 card and a digital download for the upgrade. Luckily, now Marvelous, one of the big publishers in the release window for the Nintendo Switch 2, has released that their Nintendo Switch 2 editions will actually have the full thing, including the upgrade, on a card. And Nintendo then followed suit and also said that their physical editions of the Nintendo Switch 2 editions will also include everything on a card. So we don't have to worry about the Switch 2 editions physical releases for these games being like a download code or anything. That also means, so they said the game, including the upgrade, will be bundled in a Nintendo Switch 2 card. Which means that my whole optimism that it may be a hybrid card that boots on both systems, which is according to the wording on the box, would say that, because it says it comes with the Nintendo Switch version and the upgrade. So my optimistic mind went, okay, it boots the Nintendo Switch version on a Nintendo Switch and automatically boots into the upgrade on Nintendo Switch 2. That is not the case according to the information we have right now. It's on a Nintendo Switch 2 card, which can only be read on a Nintendo Switch 2. So the whole thing with the Nintendo Switch 2 editions is now they're just standard Nintendo Switch 2 games. I don't know why they're releasing them as Nintendo Switch 2 editions. They're actually just ports of the game to Nintendo Switch 2. It has basically nothing to do with the Nintendo Switch 1 version, because the architecture is different, so it doesn't boot on that system. I'm not sure what they are doing. I think it's just to advertise that you can upgrade the game for a little fee as well. Very annoying. So why is it not just the Nintendo Switch 2 version of the game and the Switch version of the game? No, it's the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of the game. So again, like it's a whole disaster, PR about the Nintendo Switch 2 in general. Very annoying. I hate that. They they should just be very clear about it. Sadly, they are not. So backwards compatibility of the Nintendo Switch 2 editions is sadly out of the picture. Positive news about the backwards compatibility of Nintendo Switch 1 games on the Switch. They will boot, like most of them. Some of them are not compatible because of physical limitations. Like, for example, the one game that is absolutely never going to be compatible with the Nintendo Switch 2 is the VR goggle kit, because the Switch 2 does not physically fit into that cardboard box. I'm sure it would work if you just made a different cardboard box, but hey, what do I know? I'm not sure if the game boots on the system. Maybe they're just locking it out completely. And a few other games, like one of the games that's apparently not working is like the Mal Kingdom collection, which is a collection of the second and third Mal Kingdom game for the PS1 and PS2. So from the list, from what I've seen, games that are not compatible are either like physically limited, they don't have the AR camera, or they're mostly games that use like software tricks, or like this game, what I think is, for the second game, it boots a probably PlayStation 2 emulator, and that probably doesn't work on the Switch 2 yet. They're saying they're working on it. I'm sure like most of the games that have problems will be fixed until release or shortly after. I'm very optimistic about that. Why I think it's the PlayStation 2 emulator on this one, because as far as I know, none of the other NIS like things here that have PS1 emulators actually have a problem with it. I don't think the PSP games that they released on the Switch have a problem with it. So it may be the PS2 emulator they're using on this one. But again, I'm not sure. There are games like Doom Eternal and so on. They probably use some software trick to get things to run, and those don't work perfectly on the Switch 2 yet. I'm sure they're fixing that or maybe releasing upgrade patches or something for that. So positive, basically the Nintendo Switch 2 edition physical releases don't exist. They're just Nintendo Switch 2 games, so we can ignore everything that the box says. Very confusing, but that's the way it seems to be. And your physical Nintendo Switch 1 games will work, basically most of them. If you have a Nintendo Switch 2 game, probably, or Nintendo Switch 1 game, most of them probably work fine or will work fine in the future. So, big thing about nothing, basically, if Nintendo could just be straight and honest and just clear with us, that would be fantastic. Sadly, they're drip feeding information through like support mails and so on, instead of just releasing solid information, which they did. It's very, very cool that they released this chart where they said, oh, out of 122 Switch 1 games Nintendo made, like 1 is incompatible or 2 are incompatible, something like this. Very transparent there, but when it comes to actually like what can and should I buy at launch, yeah, very confusing. So I will be there at launch buying the Rune Factory game for the Nintendo Switch 2 edition, and then sadly not being able to play it on the Switch 1. That's just my life at that point then, but that's how it is. Thank you very much for watching. I plan on covering the Nintendo Switch situation a bit more in the future too. Cheers to you and see you next time.